the people on the wherever you are. Office, in the car. You shouldn't watch this in the car. Probably on the toilet. That's okay. I mean, the audio might not be as good, but use headphones. Use headphones on the, Hey, out of all this stuff next to me, which is labeled Synergie in the French, Synergy stuff, we're going to look a little bit more at the SYN-1. There's a big-ass video called Introduction to the Synergy System where I'll talk about everything in the different modules and all the pros and cons, everything that you can do. But this time, let's focus on the SYN-1, which is, I'm going to unplug this thing here. Well, first I have to drink my matcha tea because it's on top of it. It's probably way too hot. And because it's Christmas, we have Lebkuchen. It is actually a great Lebkuchen holder. Right here at that spot, it seems to be warm, and it melted the Lebkuchen. Actually, it melted them everywhere. Crap. Bad idea to put chocolate on your Synergy. Now I gotta lick that off. I'll be right back. Wow, I'm not too smart, just in case you were wondering. So, here's this, let's call it oversized external hard drive enclosure out of very solid, it's not very light, bent metal. Now, guitar goes in here. You take the module out easily with these thumb screws, pull it out, take a different module. What is this? That's the plexi. And let's see, we have, go to the close-up camera, Leslie. And there are these rails in here, as you can see. And the module easily slides in there. Should anything ever happen to the rails or the threads from the screws, these can easily be exchanged and installed by yourself. So that's not an issue. It definitely, see, just click it in and that's it. You don't have to really tighten the screws. That's just a precaution. Now, 2 channels on every module, volume, and a sag knob, which pushes it into compression in more dense, kind of like what a power amp would do when you're using the DI out. Now, the DI out is XLR, which is great, balanced. You can change, you can ground lift it, you can change the level, and you can also turn off the internal speaker simulation, and you can use it with an impulse response, or with you can just go directly into your DAW and then use software in there. You can go and use a impulse response loader like the Torpedo Cap, like the Pangea, like the Moore, I don't know, Radar, I think it's called. What's it called? A Blue Box from Blue Guitar. And then there's the Digitech has one called the Cap Driver, I think. Any of those can be fed with this. And then you have your, in this case, Plexi preamp running in there. Again, it's just a preamp. If you want power amp, you need a power amp simulation or an actual power amp like the SYN-5050. But don't run this into your Torpedo Cap, because it's not meant for that. They thought of everything. There's, global, what's global? Global ground lift is here as well. So the main out would go actually into a power amp. You know what, I made a little 2-minute video for Synergy to show you how it wires up to expand the channels of your head or combo. Let's roll that right here so you know how that would be. So it's actually freaking simple because the outs and ins are labeled exactly as they should. To amp in goes into the input of the amp. From amp FX return. From amp FX send to amp FX return. There's even a level adjustment low and high. And then that's the cool thing. You wire up your effects into the effects loop of the SYN-1, which will also apply to your amps channel. So on that Fender or a JCM or any preamp that you wire in here from your amp will still have effects, but they're wired in here. What are we gonna do? How do we want to listen to this? Because there's so many ways to wire this up. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Here are a couple of modules in this thing with the 5050, the SYN cap, and the Sennheiser mic in front of it. Just a couple of sounds. It's not going to be complete, so that you can hear what that setup will give you. In depth of every module videos will also be here on my channel. So that's the all synergy setup. Now, let's listen to a couple of DI modules. Modules, DI, from here straight into the Universal Audio Apollo with the built-in speaker simulation. That'll sound like this. Okay, so what does it sound like if you take this, turn the internal speaker sim off, and run it into Torpedo Cab? Let's see. let's expand a 112 Fender combo. Now the Fender Hot Rod is an amazing amp that the clean channel is brilliant. The drive channel has always sucked, will always suck. You guys know the deal. That's an amazing pedal platform. Don't use the drive channel. Now, I'm going to count this as a one-channel amp because it only has one usable channel. If I want to expand it with this, super easy. You just saw how it's wired up. Let's listen to a couple of sounds. Fender combo with this on top. All of a sudden, I got a 3-channel amp. Technically 4, but again, Fender drive channel not happening. Let's listen to that. There you go. Leaves one more setup. Let's take a big ass 100 watt single channel amp, Marshall JCM 800, and check it out with a couple of modules wired just like I wired up the Fender combo, but this time the Marshall SYN-1, couple of modules, and the coffee cap, it's this blue thing right there, coffee cap latte, which has creambacks in it. So let's listen to that. Nice, huh? So obviously, could you see this, that I was switching things with my foot? I don't know, because right here on the ground next to me, if Leslie goes to it, is not this big thing. That's a MIDI thing controlling the SYN-2. But this right here has a channel and a bypass. So the bypass will actually get you your amps preamp, and the channel will actually switch between the blue and the red channel on the SYN-1 and your module. That is included. Also, what they're going to do, as far as I heard, these tiny little feet are nice for on the table in the studio, but if you have one of those big leather handles or any kind of handle on your amp, it's tough. It won't sit on there, so it'll be on the handle and be wobbling back and forth. So they're going to include bigger feet in the box because we talked about it. I know that's not what they're going to do. So here's the thing. I brought up the issue of not being able to put the SYN-1 possibly on an amp in the middle, nicely where you want it, just like where you can fiddle with it on stage and at home, because of the handle. And then together with them and me and whatever, we talked about how we can do this, and we came up with a cool bracket idea. And then they called me up and said, hey, we don't need a bracket, we can just put big feet on it. But they're afraid that putting the big feet on will result in people using screws that are not made for it, and therefore puncturing the circuit board, and they don't want to risk that. So we went back to the bracket idea, which that's what we're doing, or they are doing. I'm not Synergy. So they're doing the bracket idea, which I think is freaking cool. It's a bracket, you put it right over your handle, it'll sit neatly on the amp. It'll probably be, I assume, black. So the prototype you can see right here, and it has holes in the top where your SYN-1 securely sits in it with its feet, and that's it. So yes, you can pretty much put that on any amp, small, big, whatever, so the space on top of the amp is perfect for it. Again, I like a company that has open ears to improve the system. So no big feet, as I just said. What you just seen is what you will, I don't know if it's included with the SYN-1 or if it's an extra product that you have to get. Not sure. You'll find out. I don't know. That's back to me. How close do you get with these modules to the actual amp? And I've talked about that in the introduction video. In some instances, I need more matcha tea. In some instances, very damn close. Because amps, for example, like the Friedman BE100, they create a lot of the sound in the preamp, and they use the power amp to make it louder. But louder in a neutral way, so that that amazing preamp sound doesn't get colored any further. At least that's what I understand and what people tell me. What the fuck do I know? And there's some amps where the power amp is of great importance. For example, for me, the Dirty Shirley right there, where the power amp is more ballsy, very fat, and if you run that into a different kind of amp, you're losing that a little bit. I discovered that with the Dirty Shirley pedal, where the drive structure is always there, but the frequency response changes from amp to amp because the Dirty Shirley has a special power amp. In this case, 5881s are those tubes? I don't know. 50s, some kind of other tube. So if you have an amp that which is preamp, who's preamp? The amps which is if you have that preamp amp, if you have a preamp, you're putting that in here, and the actual amp's power amp is very important for the sound, then you're losing a little bit. So you can make up for that by using a power amp simulation in something like the Torpedo, which does that, and I think the Pangea will do it too, to simulate that amp, or you actually pump that into a power amp with similar power amp tubes. So if you have something Marshally, use a power amp that also has 34s. For example, if you want something that is voxy, like the AC, but make it even voxier, run it into an amp with 84s. I just thought of something, I'm editing this, so I'm like, have more ideas. So you might ask yourself, why this and not just a pedal in front of my amp? Like, for example, the BOD or the Dirty Shirley. Where's the difference? Now, I can tell you very clearly where the difference is. A, if we take the JCM800, which we've heard, that amp is...
Dazu muss erst dein iPhone entsperrt werden.
My iPhone just thought I'm saying Jay-Z and I want to listen to Jay-Z. No, I do not want to listen to Jay-Z, Siri. Thank you very much. JC800. What the? So you have... I'm sorry. Yeah, let's say you have the JCM800. Then that's always going to be, gain all the way up because that's the only way it actually sounds great. Now, can you put a pedal in front of that amp that's going to make it sound like a clean Fender? No, you cannot. when you push the BEOD or DS or any pedal that will sound like in front of that amp's preamp with its gain structure will of course be a big part of it. Here, only the amp's power amp will be part of it. So this, you can change like pedals and get different flavors, but you get a cleaner flavor out of it with your amp, especially if your amp is a one-channel amp and it's already driving, you'll never get it to be clean. I got amazing sounds out of that JCM 800, fully clean, which, you know what, no JCM 800 owner can actually claim. So you also, compared to pedals, get, well, 2 channels, and you get a full EQ, which some pedals have, some pedals don't. So it is not the same as having a pedal, but it's in a similar price range as some boutique pedals. So yeah, you're getting a preamp, not a pedal. And the benefit clearly is you're going around your amp's preamp and it's not coloring the sound like your amp's preamp would with a pedal. Am I making myself clear here? I think I am. So definitely same flexibility as pedals, not the same result. A more neutral, more honest result. And does that make sense? Back to me. The bottom line is still, it always sounds fantastic. Does the DS module with this pumped into a Hughes-Kettner power amp sound like a Dirty Shirley amp? No. Does it have that Dirty Shirley drive? Yes. You have to determine what your setup is. But my hunch is that whatever your setup is, whether you're going DI or whether you're going into Hughes-Kettner or whether you're going into whatever, into your combo, the Synergy system can always expand your sounds. And for a fraction of the cost of the actual amp, a AC, a VH4, whatever, for a fraction of the cost of the actual amp, you're going to get rather close to that amp sound. If you really want that VH4 sound, you got to get a VH4, okay? Because the power amp section, everything plays into it. But if you want a flexible setup that's not digital, if you want a flexible setup that's portable, if you want to expand the amp that you love, like your Orange Reverb 50 right there, with 2 more channels that are not orange at all, you can do that. Put that on top, wire it up, all of a sudden you have a 4-channel amp. The 2 from the orange, 2 from here. And the next night, you want 2 clean channels to run around with your orange. Put a different module in. At $399, which I think it's how much these are. This is $499, so 900 together. At $399, these modules are more like an expensive pedal. Expensive in the sense of, higher priced pedal, but it's all tube, 2 channels. On some modules, 2 very different channels. On some modules, it's pretty much the same thing, but with different gain and volume. Okay, it depends on the module. Like on this AC, they are slightly different. I think on the BE, it's just different gain. On the T Deluxe, which I think is this one, is literally a Tweed and a Deluxe in one module. You are definitely buying the real deal. No latency, no digital, no nothing. But if you're watching this, you're probably someone who wants the real deal, who wants the real feel. And that's what you're getting here. So the great thing is, you have an amp, you want to expand it, you spent $900 and you can do that. And for your next birthday, bat mitzvah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Easter, I don't know, some other festivity, you just have someone get you a module for $400. It's not like spending $2,000 on an amp. Get the module. And if you find out that you really always play that 800 module, it's the one thing you always play, you might want to get yourself a Marshall JCM 800. Because you find out, hey, that's the thing. But you didn't buy 10 amps, bought a couple of modules, which you can then still use with your 800 and have a 3-channel amp. So I think it is a brilliant system. It is extremely well built, made in the USA, or it says assembled in the USA. Don't know quite the difference. I actually think this is made in the USA. Of course, some transistors and whatever, everything comes from China. So I'm pretty sure it's not all US parts. Nothing is. Literally nothing. Really well built, great team, and all the brands that are being represented in the modules here are actually involved, and they're getting their fair share, which you can't say for a lot of the digital solutions, where things are being traded online and ripped off and programmed and no one's getting paid. Here, Morgan, Metropolis, Friedman, they're all getting paid, and there's way more to come. I know that Engel is involved with, I think, 2 modules. Bogner, 2 or 3 modules. Frayette, Tone King is going to have... There's all the really hot shit that you want. 65 amps, all the hot amps. Sound City will be represented in the Synergy series, which means you can dip your feet into any of these brands and get their preamps and have fun with them. So that's it from here. Didn't play any guitar, just whatever I had prepared before. Next, I gotta check out some stereo sounds from the SYN-2. But that's a different video. First, animals at the end.
2, 1, 2, 3. Flower face, the sadness grows.